Okay, everyone. So wala tayong participants, but I will record this for the purpose of discussion. Okay. So we have topics that have not been discussed because of the holidays. So these are the topics for the fourth week of our online learning. So first topic will be pre-analytical phase. Okay, class. Pre-analytical phase uh, are all the procedures done before reading the actual tissues by the pathologist. In your case, if we are in the histopath lab. So, for introduction, to ensure quality and safety in the histopath lab, it is imperative that there be a clear understanding of the quality and safety control program and implementation of the same. Therefore, in this topic, we are making an attempt to describe the steps involved in producing a quality histopathology report and safety measures for minimizing risk in the histopathology laboratory. Okay, for laboratory quality management system class, it is made for a laboratory setup, but quality management system is not only limited in the health in the health aspects or in the health industries. Other industries like business, food, or even marketing, they also employ or adopt quality management system. Okay, to ensure the quality performance of every laboratory, laboratory should have some form of quality management system for all the procedures performed under its scope of activity. Quality assurance, continuing quality improvement, quality control, and are integral components of required quality system. Okay. So we have quality control. It is a system of routine technical activities to measure and control the quality of the inventory as it is being developed. Quality control checks in histopath lab will include accurate patient identification, fixation, adequate processing, uh, appropriate embedding techniques, microtomy, unacceptable artifacts, and inspection of control to determine correctness of special stains and immunohistochemical methods. Okay, quality control class, for example, in other part of the laboratory, yung mga machines, they have control or control reagents to check whether those machines are working properly. In case of histopath lab class, we have also quality control when it comes to our machines, okay, before using. But in other machines class, they have an annual checking of those machines for quality control purposes. Reagents, okay? You have to check every reagents if it is still appropriate for usage. Okay? There are reagents class na hindi pa expired but hindi na pwedeng gamitin. Okay? It's either nag-decolorize or nag-change na yung color, nag-precipitate, uh, and can cause formation of artifacts. So, hindi na siya pwedeng gamitin for histopath lab. Okay? So, quality assurance. What is the difference of quality assurance and quality control? Quality control class is being done by the medical technologists, histopath lab, or the histotechnicians, or the pathologists. This is being performed by them inside the histopath lab. So, while quality assurance class are done by a third party third party company, or third party industries to ensure that your histopath lab is working properly. So, it is a planned system of review procedures conducted by personnel not directly involved in the laboratory process. So, statistical analysis of quality control provides the data for quality assurance activities where correlations of errors, complaints, failures of or other unexpected results are evaluated against the laboratory expectations. Okay, sa laboratory class, we have tinatawag tayong SOP or the Standard Operating Procedures. When you deviate, ito yung sabi sa amin before ng aming mga heads or mga seniors, when you deviate on the SOP, that's the time you commit errors. Okay? Yan yung sinasabi, paulit-ulit na sinasabi ni Westgard. Di ba? We have the Westgard rule. Okay? When you deviate on the SOP or the standard set up by the different laboratories, you commit errors. Okay? So we have to check, but we have to check time to time yung SOP natin if meron ng discrepancies or meron ng hindi pwede na gawin. Okay? Or merong updates. Okay? Quality control naman, class, is done by the laboratory to ensure the quality is being done to all those machines or agents, and also when it comes to handling the specimens. Sa histopath class, the quality control starts with receiving of specimen, okay? Checking of the labels, okay? Logging in the specimen, okay? And starting the histotechniques, okay? Those are the procedures for the pre-analytical phase, okay? So when it comes to quality assurance naman, class, we have two types. For histopath ito, we have two types of external programs that contributes for valuable information for a quality assurance program. First, we have the College of American Pathologists and the UK External Quality Assessment Service. Okay, dito sa Philippines, we have local NECAs. Okay? But I do not think histopath is included for that. International, we have. So, ano bang ginagawa nila? So, there are two types of quality assurance for histopath. So, first, we have selective system. In selective system class, they prepare stain preparations from departmental archival records used to assess the quality of staining. Okay. Another is distributive system, in which participating laboratories are asked to stain sections that have been submitted by the scheme organizers. So usually it is distributive. Okay? So magpapadala sila ng specimen and you're going to stain it. Okay? That's for the histotechnique. For the reading purposes naman, yan yung analytical phase naman. Okay? So these third-party external programs, okay, you're going to enroll yourself. Okay? Tapos, magpapadala sila ng it's either stained for reading and unstained for staining NECAs. Okay. Now, kung pumasa ka for this NECAs, they will give you a accomplishment certificate. Okay. Anong purpose nitong accomplishment certificates na to? Okay. These certificates, class, are being reviewed or being nasa checklist siya during DOH inspections. So, hahanapan ka ng NECAs yearly. Okay. So, the hospital or the laboratory class should enroll on these NECAs yearly. Okay. For local class, I think we have for hematology, we have NKTI, or the National Kidney Transplant Institute. They're performing NECAs for the hematology. For parasitology and bacteriology, microbiology, we have our ITM. So nagpapadala sila ng blank specimen and then they're going to read or to identify what type of specimen. For for serology, okay, our immunoserology, we have the SACEL or okay, San Lorenzo. Okay? So mapadala nila ng blank serum and they're going to identify the result for HB-Sag AG, HCV, HIV, and syphilis. Okay. For, I think, uh, drug testing, we have East Avenue. For chemistry laboratory, we have the Lung Center. Okay. For blood bank, RITM. So those are the different institutes for local NECAs. So yun yung hinahanap ng DOH, PhilHealth, ng mga certificates of accomplishments if they're going to check for the laboratories of the hospitals. Okay? Now, these are the quality control assurance plan for histopath lab. For designing quality control assurance plan in histopathology, should focus on three elements here: the pre-ANA, okay, like what I've said, pre-analytical phase, the analytical phase, and the post-analytical phase. Okay, so this is the setup of the histopath lab technically. Okay, that the ideal but technical setup of a histopath lab. So here's the reception. Dito nanggagaling or dito ni-receive yung specimen for specimen preparation. Specimen preparation class is checking for the labels. Okay, what type of specimen? Enough ba yung fixatives? Okay, grossing. Okay, grossing class is cut a part of the specimen, okay, for histotechnique. Okay, dito naman yung area for embedding and microtomy, staining, and then issuing for QC, check and issue for pathologists. And this is for reporting or reading their tissues. Kaya may microscope dito. And then these are the area for the release or result making or the typing of the results for releasing. Okay. Pre-ana phase or the pre-analytical aspects, it includes sample collection, transport, accession, and tissue processing and submission of the slides for reporting. The accuracy of the final diagnosis is a measure of effectiveness of many elements. So patients or specimen identification is one of the most important aspects, and it begins with specimen labeling and accessioning. Okay, analytical phase naman glass, it's being done or it's being read by the pathologist. Okay, so judgment or be conscious of the patient's welfare and should always strive to provide accurate diagnosis. So he or she must constantly seek out of new knowledge and adopt new practices as they become available. Okay, class. In other laboratories, class, lalong-lalo na sa mga yung mga overseas na mga laboratories, the pathologists are checking the results of their work. Okay, for example, mag-release ka ng result for hematology. Okay, before the results are being released to the patient, it's being checked by another medical technologist. Okay, it's being checked again by the chief medical technologist, and it's being checked finally by the pathologist before they're going to sign the results. So merong 4 signatories yun. Pero sa iba naman, 3. Ikaw, chief medtech, and the pathologist. So there's no way na magkakamali ka because tatlo yung check unless you bypass those procedures or the SOP and release the result yourself. Mangyari nun, possible na hindi accurate yung results mo or hindi tama. Okay? Now let's go to the post-analytical aspects of histopath lab. Post-analytical phase involves the activities that follow the analytical phase, including preparation, delivery of the report, archiving of the request form, and report storage of the reported specimen for set retention period and safe disposal of specimen thereafter. Sa histopathology class, It's a debate pa rin, no? Hanggang ngayon, yung post-analytical phase or yung storing ng specimen, tissue blocks, or results. There are books class that states that 10 years is the maximum for results. But it is a practice class na lifetime yung storing ng ating mga tissue blocks. We have a case before class, a laboratory class, no? Na the case happened 1980s, 1989, 1987. Okay? And the family went back sa lab after how many years? Mga 2011. They are looking for the blocks because the patient already died. Okay? I think cancer. So they wanted to prove if the cause of death is cancer. So they wanted to another opinion. So they wanted for the tissue blocks. Okay? So they refer them to the pathologist. Okay? Kasi nga, the pathologist holds all the records, all the tissue blocks of the patients. Okay? But I think lifetime pa rin siya hanggang ngayon. Okay, safety control. All laboratories should enroll in a safety program which should begin with the recognition of understanding of the hazards followed. So before class, before tayo nag-start na MLS program, or yung after ng mga senior high, di ba? We have attended a biosafety seminar program. I think it should be a part of the new subjects for the new MLS program. Okay, so we have different types of hazards sa laboratory. Deficiencies have been reported in the knowledge, attitudes, and practice of laboratory safety by the laboratory personnel. Kaya nga, di ba, we have experienced a lot of hazards like fire, maraming hospitals na nasunog. Maybe perhaps they do not practice safety control. Okay. First, hazards associated with chemicals. Okay. Sa laboratory class, we distinguish or we categorize chemicals according to different classifications. Okay. If you are, I think, color coordinated sila, a wide range of chemicals which are potentially dangerous are employed in the histopath laboratories. Lalong-lalo na sa histopath. All our chemicals are hazardous, flammable. Okay? The risk associated with hazardous chemicals may be controlled by having adequate knowledge of properties of these substances. Okay, it's being categorized class by color. Okay, for blue it is deadly, extreme danger, hazardous. Yan. For fire hazards we have red. For black, okay, specific hazard. And then for yellow, instability. Instability in other cases, if it's mixed with another chemicals, it can explode. Okay. Health hazards effects of chemicals. Okay. Nearly all chemicals can be irritants. Okay. Like allergens, given sufficient exposure to tissues, and can cause reversible inflammations, specifically eye, skin, and respiratory passages. Okay. So there are chemicals class na irritants. Okay? Naamoy pa lang, can cause irritations. Lalong-lalo na if it is being exposed sa skin. Okay? Chemicals that are sensitizers cause allergic reactions in a substantial proportion of exposed subjects. Okay? There are also other chemicals class that are carcinogenic. So prolonged exposure on these chemicals can cause cancer. Okay? For example, basic fuchsin and Congo red. Those are stains sa histopath. Okay, hazards associated with laboratory equipments and instruments. Ito, marami ito. Laboratory equipment and appliances that are electrically powered can pose an electrical problem. So aside from electrocuting a personnel, okay, those equipment class also are the cause of fire hazards. Okay, so for example, lalong-lalo na sa laboratory, we have hazards on microtome since it is it has blades. Okay, can cause slicing of your fingers. Yan. Also, autoclave. Autoclave glass can pose hazards arising from heat, steam, and pressure. So we have experienced during internship class now, the interns did not close um, directly, hindi na close properly yung lead ng autoclave. So what happens? Buti na lang walang intern sa loob ng room. Okay? Uh, it burst open when the steam arises. So para siyang explosion. Okay? So kung nandun ka sa loob, probably napaso na yung tao. Buti na lang walang intern. Okay, so nagulat lahat kasi walang supervision ng senior or ng staff. I-close nila or inoperate nila yung autoclave without the supervision of a registered medical technologist. So what happens? Hindi na-close ng mabuti and then nag-burst open yung takip ng autoclave. Okay? Okay? Many risks of chemicals risk from fire and explosion. So many of the commonly used organic solvents like diethyl ether, ethyl alcohol, methyl alcohol, and acetone have flash point between 21 degrees Celsius and are highly flammable. So, di ba? A common cause of hazards are their mixture of chemicals or spillage and then exposed to fire or yung mga uh, equipment na are not being checked. Okay? So explosive chemicals are rare in the histopath, the primary example being picric acid. So certain silver solutions may become explosive upon aging and they should never be stored after use. Okay. So yung sorry. So yung aming biosafety seminar before training and seminar is being conducted by the OSHA or Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Okay. So safety measures while handling hazardous chemicals. So even for substances with no known significant hazard, exposure should be minimized unless known otherwise. Assume that any mixture will be more toxic than its most toxic component. Okay? And all substances of unknown toxicity and hazardous are hazardous. So all substances of unknown toxicity are hazardous. So the permissible exposure limits of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration should be observed. Okay, so this is the most common hazards associated to pathogenic microorganisms. So we're exposed to different types of microorganisms. So lalong-lalo na the most popular today, the one that causes our pandemic. Okay, the first and most obvious source of biological risk is with the fresh tissue and body fluids. So crossing carries the highest risk of histological activities. So fixed specimens have the much reduced risk because nearly all infectious agents are readily deactivated by histological fixation. The potential routes through which laboratory workers can get exposed to biohazards are inhalation of aerosols, contact with non-intact skin, and contact with the mucous membranes. Okay, so di ba? Lalong-lalo na ngayon, we are handling specimens that are potential risk for our health. Okay, so these are the microorganisms. So di ba na natin alam, it can cause pandemic, lalong-lalo na. Diba? So that's the end for our pre-analytical phase. So let's proceed to fixation. Okay? Okay, fixation is the first step for histotechnique after grossing. Okay, so fixation in the field of histology, pathology, and cell biology. Fixation is a chemical process by which biological tissues are preserved from decay, either through autolysis or putrefaction. So fixation terminates any ongoing biochemical reactions and may also increases the mechanical strength or stability of the treated tissues. Okay, so for the purpose of fixation is to preserve a sample of biological material as close to its natural state possible. The process of preparing tissues for examination to achieve these specific conditions must usually be met. So the aim of fixation is to prevent post-mortem degeneration, autolysis, stop bacterial effect, harden the tissue as fixation causes coagulation of proteins, and has a mordanting effect. So mordanting, it is being mordanting effect class. It is usually heard sa mga staining. Because mordant is a bridge. Uh, it's a bridge usually done bridging tissue to the stain. For when it comes to fixation class, it bridges the fixative to sa ating tissues. Okay, fixation bridges the tissue to other subsequent preparations or other histotechniques. So, mordanting effect yung fixation. Ano bang next? Clearing. Okay. Okay. Features of fixation. So first, acts as acts to disable intrinsic biomolecules, particularly proteolytic enzymes. So to prevent necrosis and damage. Second, protect a sample from extrinsic damage, particularly bacteria. Okay? So after death or nagkaroon ka ng degradation or degeneration by the bacteria, colonization, causing again necrosis. So finally, fixatives often alter the cells or tissues on a molecular level to increase their mechanical strength or stability. Okay. So look at this picture, class. This is a picture of a bacteria. Okay. Even the most fixation does alter the sample and introduce artifacts that can interfere with the interpretation of cellular ultrastructures. Okay. This area here, class, to, was categorized before as part of an organelles of a cell, of organelle specifically a bacterial cell. So it was termed as mesosomes. So later on, mesosomes, which was thought to be an organelle in a gram-positive bacteria in 1970s. So as we develop electron microscopy, we have already abandoned that theory. This organelle is actually classed an artifact of a chemical fixation. So nangyari ito after nag-appears yung organelles nito as an artifact after a chemical fixation. So characteristics of a good fixatives must kill the cell quickly without shrinkage or swelling, penetrate the tissue rapidly, inhibit bacterial decay and autolysis, harden the tissue and render it insensitive to subsequent treatment as staining, allow tissue to be stored for a long time, and simple to prepare and economical. So fixation process is usually the first stage in a multi-step process to prepare the sample of biological material for microscopy and or analysis. Okay. So types of fixation, it is being categorized in a three process. We have heat fixation, perfusion, and immersion. First, we have heat fixation. Okay, I know you're well familiar with heat fixation. It's being used sa AFB, di ba? AFB staining. Heat fixative or heat fixation. So after smearing, The slides is gripped by a tongs or a cloth spin and pass through the flame of Bunsen burner several times to heat, kill, and adhere the organism to the slide. So heat fixation method can be successfully used for preparing gram-stain, gram-positive bacteria samples for studies. Okay. Perfusion. So perfusion is a fixation via blood flow. So we all know, perfusion in another term. So it is embalming. So the fixative is injected into the heart with the injection volume matching cardiac output. Okay, this picture class is a picture of perfusion. Okay, the fixative is being injected directly to the heart. Okay, immersion. So immersion, we are going to use immersion as our way of fixation. So the sample of tissue is immersed in a fixative of a volume at a minimum of 2/3. So 1/3 yung specimen, 2/3 yung volume ng fixative. Okay? So different types of factors involved in fixation. So we have pH. Usually class, pH concentrations affects fixation. Okay? The general purposes, the optimal pH for a fixation is 6 to 8, with exemptions of our graphic mucosa, which is 5.5. For buffer should not react chemically with fixatives. So barbiturates with aldehyde. For histochemistry, buffer should not react or inhibit incubation medium or enzymes. So phosphates reacts with G6PD. Okay, phosphates combines with lead salts in metal precipitation methods. Okay, as close to tissue pH as possible, especially for histochemistry. So buffer class speeds up our fixation process. For temperature, for routine fixation, we are only using room temperature. But for electron microscopy, 0 to 4 degrees Celsius. Okay, so lower temperature decreases also the rate of decomposition, but higher temperature also, it's better rate of fixation. So sometimes fixation is done inside the oven, okay, to promote or to increase this or speed up our fixation process. Penetration of fixatives. Okay, rate of penetration varies with various factors. For example, glutaraldehyde versus formaldehyde. For penetration, mas better daw si glutaraldehyde. The only downfall for glutaraldehyde is more expensive, okay? But same output. Okay? Deeper tissue takes longer time. Fixed tissues acts as a barrier for diffusion of fixative. Osmolality naman is, okay, the higher concentration to lower concentration, di ba? Close to tissue osmolality. So higher side, 400 to 450 milliosmol. So commonly used is sodium chloride, with the exemptions again of pancreas because it causes it causes shrinkage to our pancreas if it's being exposed to sodium chloride. Okay, so vehicles and additives. Okay, para siyang buffer class. It's stable. Okay, that speeds up fixation. But vehicles and additives okay, have different types of purposes. Merong stabilized proteins like our ammonium sulfate added with sodium chloride, increased binding of mercury chloride to proteins. Alcian blue, ruthenium red, and lanathum preserve ultrastructure of the mucous substances. Tannic acid, it enhances microtubules and filaments in electron microscopy. Tannic acid also class, it precipitates protein for fixation. Next is concentration of fixatives, determined by cost, effectiveness, solubility, types of tissues and methods of fixation. For example, formalin. Okay, so we have different types of concentration of formalin. 5% formalin is for plant tissues. Okay, 10% formalin for animal tissues, and 50% formalin are used for embalming. Okay, so we have classified fixatives on different levels. Okay, for example, fixatives according to component. There is simple and compound. Simple, one chemical substance, while compound, two or more chemical substances. Okay, for example, formaldehyde, glutaraldehyde for simple. Compound, we have carnoys, zenkers, and bowens. Carnoys fluid, for example, is composed, I think, of glacial acetic acid, chloroform, and alcohol. Okay. Again, classification according or action upon cells, microanatomical, cytological, and histochemical. For cytological, can be nuclear or cytoplasmic. Okay, so microanatomical, they preserve microscopic structures of tissues. Cytological preserves intracellularly, and for histochemical, used to demonstrate enzyme and other substance of the cells. Okay, according to action, it can be physical or chemical method. Okay, for physical method, isa lang, so heat, microwave. So again, we are using heat, microwave, or freeze drying. Those are physical method. So hindi sila gumagamit ng substances or chemicals. For chemical method, yun na yung gumagamit ng different types of reagent fixatives. Now, according to tolerance actions. Okay, tolerant action class is classification of fixative if it can harm or hazard to the end users or yung mga medical practitioners or technicians. So the most tolerant fixative class is formalin. So it is safe for use. Okay, both for the pathologist and the histotechnicians. Okay, non-tolerant fluid class are, for example, carnoise fluid. Okay, it contains chloroform that is very hazard or irritant to histotechnicians. We have also the Baker classification. So it differentiates our fixatives for coagulant and non-coagulant. Okay, so this classification class is used to determine if the fixative can precipitate or denaturate our proteins. Okay? For example, coagulant fixatives are formaldehyde, mga formalin. Non-coagulant fixatives class are alcohol. Okay? Non-coagulant fixatives are used to yung ating mga tissue fluids. Okay? Cross-linking fixatives. Okay, for example, aldehyde. Aldehyde are members niya yung mga formalin, formaldehyde, glutaraldehyde. So cross-linking fixatives act by creating covalent chemical bonds between proteins in tissues. Okay, this anchors soluble proteins to the cytoskeleton and lends additional rigidity to the tissues. Okay, cross-linking. So it adds more rigidity sa tissue after exposure to an aldehyde. Okay. Next is oxidizing agents. For example, osmium tetroxide can react with various side chains of proteins and other biomolecules, allowing the formation of cross-links which stabilize tissue structure. So osmium tetroxide is often used as a secondary fixative when samples are prepared for electron microscopy. Next is denaturating fixative or denaturing fixatives. Okay, denaturating or precipitating act by reducing the solubility of protein molecules by disrupting the hydrophobic interactions, which gives many proteins their tertiary structures. Okay, these denaturating or precipitating fixatives class are used sa ating cytological methods. Okay, kasi yung mga cytological methods class, our specimens are usually body fluids. Okay, so the most common precipitating fixatives are ethanol and methanol. Acetones are also used. Okay, malalaman natin nag-precipitate yung mga body fluids class because meron siyang presence of soluble proteins. So when you add ethanol and methanol or methanol, okay, disrupt yung hydrophobic interactions. Thus, okay, precipitating yung ating mga body fluids. Okay? So other fixatives, we have picric acid and mercury chloride. So other interactions, cross-linking. Okay. Ito yung cross-links. Okay. So these are reactions of fixatives to protein. Okay. So, ito naman yung reactions of fixatives to nucleic acids. Okay, our DNA and RNA. Okay, lipids, reactions of fixatives for lipids. For carbohydrates, we have alcoholic or picric acid fixatives. So we're discussing more on formaldehyde since it is the most common fixative. So the powerful reducing agent, most common fixative for routine fixation of biopsy specimen. For formalin, so 40% formaldehyde gas in water forms methylene bridges between the protein molecules. Okay, method 4 millimeter blocks, 8 hours at a room temperature. Okay. So most commonly used fixative is 10% formalin, consists of 40% formaldehyde plus 10 ml of water. Okay, 10 ml of the 40% formaldehyde plus water na 90 ml. Okay. Formaldehyde neutralization is necessary due to formation of formic acid by addition of buffer to maintain pH of 7. Okay. So yan na yung buffer natin kanina. So this buffer maintains the pH of the fixative. Okay. So examples of buffer are phosphate buffer, magnesium carbonate. So advantage of using formaldehyde, so it is cheap, easy to prepare, relatively stable, good preservation of cell morphology, good penetration, do not cause excessive hardening, and best fixative for nervous tissues. Okay. Ito yung appearance of a tissue stained tissues na fixed with formaldehyde or formalin. Okay, these are categories of different types of formalin. Formaldehyde is another good fixative. Okay, mercury chloride. Ito yung metallic fixatives natin class. The downside of these fixatives, it causes blackening of the tissues. Okay, and today we do not use anymore mercury sa mga laboratories. Alcoholic fixatives. So this is the appearance of stained tissues using alcoholic fixatives, types of alcohols. Okay, chromate fixatives. Today class, we do not also use chromate class since it is a hazard to the environment and it is difficult to dispose. Okay. Osmium tetroxide, highly reactive substance being easily reduced, rapid fixing. This is the appearance of an osmium tetroxide. Okay. Fixation. Okay. So for the golden rule, size of the tissue 3 to 5 millimeter, and the volume of fixative is 10 times. Okay. Time is usually 24 hours for formalin. Okay. So that's the end for our fixation. And the last topic today, class, is decalcification. Okay. Decalcification, class, are usually done if the specimen is bone, teeth, or calcified tissues. But in a routine laboratory class, we do not perform decalcification if the tissue is hindi naman calcified. Okay? Walang tatanggaling calcium. Okay. So the process of decalcification is removing of calcium salt from bone, teeth, and other calcified tissues and making them amenable for sectioning. Okay. Criteria: complete removal of calcium, absence of damage to tissue cells or fibers, subsequent staining not altered, and short time required for decalcification. For the purpose, okay, to make the bone flexible, and a C for pathological investigation. Okay. Principle of decalcification is insoluble salt converted to soluble salt by the action of decalcifying agent so that tissue becomes soft. The chelating agent binds to calcium ions present in the bone and decalcification is carried out. Okay, so we have four types of process for decalcification. We have the acid decalcifying agents, we have the ion exchange resin, we have the electrolyte or electrolytic decalcification, and the chelating agents. So the most common or ito yung gagamitin natin, we have acid decalcifying agents. So we have two types of acids. We have the weak and strong acids. Formic and trichloroacetic acid are weak, and strong acid are the nitric acid and hydrochloric acid. So the most commonly used for decalcification class is nitric acid. So this is the most common and the fastest decalcifying agent used so far. Okay, so it's recommended for the routine purpose of decalcification. We have types of nitric acid. We have aqueous nitric acid, formol nitric, perineous fluid, and the fluoroglucine nitric acid. This is aqueous nitric acid. It is nitric acid 5 ml plus distilled water 95 ml. So I think nitric acid will be used sa ating decalcification during laboratories. Okay? So advantages of aqueous nitric acid, rapid in action, minimum distortion, and good nuclear staining. Easily removed by 70% alcohol. For disadvantages, prolonged decalcification for aqueous nitric acid may lead to tissue distortion. Okay? Formal nitric acid, okay? Disadvantages of the formal nitric acid class is it is color yellow. So thus, if it is being exposed to a tissue, na-adapt ng tissue yung color ng formal nitric acid. Nagiging yellow din yung specimen. For perineous fluid, recommended for routine, okay, it is slow decalcifying agent, hard bone, but excellent fluid for small deposits of calcium. Okay. For glucine nitric acid, most rapid decalcifying agent so far, but poor nuclear staining. And like formal nitric acid class, it causes yellow color to the stain. Hydrochloric acid naman, examples the von Ebner's fluid, inferior compared to nitric acid. As a calcifying agent, however, it produces good nuclear staining. This is the appearance of a tissue being decalcified by hydrochloric acid and stained, H&E staining. So formic acid brings out fairly rapid decalcification. So it is a decalcification time of 2 to 7 days. Okay, hazard siya class since it can corrosive, nakakapasok, and it can cause flame or flammable siya, exposed to fire. Okay. Formic acid advantages, excellent nuclear cytoplasmic staining, suitable for routine surgical specimen. For disadvantages, not suitable for urgent specimens since matagal nga siya. So this is an X-ray of a femoral head, okay, femoral bone head, okay, after being decalcified using formic acid. So from here, 0 hours to here, di ba? Hindi na visible yung calcium portion ng bone. Formic acid sodium citrate solution. So permits nuclear staining than nitric acid. So staining process takes 3 to 14 days. Trichloroacetic acid permits good nuclear staining, doesn't require washing out. So, but disadvantages, weak decalcifying agent siya and very slow acting. Sulfuric, very weak decalcifying agent, but class it depends on the concentration of sulfuric acid. So, chromic acid, as what I have said a while ago, so suitable protective, okay. Chromic acid is less being used today since it is environmental toxin, highly corrosive, carcinogenic, suitable protective material is not readily available or practical for laboratory use when using chromic acid. So drain disposal is not a legitimate option for any solution containing chromium. Okay. So citrate acid citrate buffer solution permits excellent nuclear cytoplasmic staining. For ion exchange resin class, so this is another type of decalcification. So what happens during ion exchange resin? So hastens decalcification by removing calcium ions from formic acid containing decalcifying solution. So in exchange niya lang yung ion na nasa bones. Okay, ano yun? Yung calcium ions. So the ion exchange decalcification incorporates a strong cationic ion exchange resin in a weak acid solution to remove calcium ion from the bone while replacing it with the hydrogen ion. So ion exchange. So from yung yung hydrogen ion na nasa solution, i-replace niya yung calcium ion na nasa bone. Thus, nagiging malleable na yung bones natin. So ito yung principle of ion exchange resin. Okay? So it includes faster decalcification, preserve better cellular details, but the disadvantages of this ion exchange class and the degree of calcification cannot be determined by routine chemical testing. Electrolytic or electrolyte calcification class. So you're using electrons. Okay? The bone is wrapped by platinum wire, which serves as cathode, and the anode is in the form of carbon wire. So the calcifying solution consists of equal parts of 80% formic acid and 10% hydrochloric acid, acting as electrolyte with 6 volts for 1 hour. So you're going to expose the bone or the tissue, the calcified tissue, on electricity for 1 hour. So when the current passed, calcium will be removed to the anode and the temperature will rise up to 30 to 45 degrees Celsius. Yan. Chelating agents. So chelating agents class, the most common chelating agents is yung ating EDTA. We all know that EDTA is also used as an anticoagulant for hematology. So organic compounds which have the power of binding certain metals. Okay. Ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid or disodium salt cold versenate is used. So slow process but has a little or no effect on other tissue elements. So, tanda natin class ha. So, ito yung ating example ng EDTA for bones and teeth for decalcification. So, first, di ba, yung ating acid. So, ni-remove nyo yung bones through denaturating calcium ions. Ion exchange resin, ni-replace yung calcium ion with hydrogen ion. For electrolytic decalcification naman class, terminating calcium ions using electricity. And chelating agents naman class, binds with calcium, causing softening or malleability sa ating bones. Okay. Yun yung mga actions ng ating decalcification process. So how do you know if the process of decalcification is already complete? So we have 3 types of testing the endpoint of decalcification. First, we have physical method or the flexibility method. So unreliable siya, causes damage to the tissues kasi bend mo or you're going to prick it using pin, razor, or scalpel. Okay, that's the first physical method. Next is radiological method. So you are going to use X-ray. That's what you can see the picture class. This is yung hindi pa na-decalcify, di ba? So the white appearance on the X-ray film class is the bone. After decalcification, di ba, naglighter siya. Okay? Because the bone is already removed from, the calcium is already removed from the bone. Okay? Wala na yung white portion. Ito naman yung physical. Okay? We're going to bend or prick the bone after decalcification. So chemical methods takes 5 ml decalcifying fluid from the bottom of the container, which has been in contact with the tissue for 6 to 12 hours, and then add 5 ml of each 5% ammonium oxalate and 5% ammonium hydroxide. Mix and wait for 15 to 30 minutes. If the presence of cloudy solution caused by calcium oxalate indicates the specimen is not thoroughly decalcified. Okay. Pag nag-cloudy siya, class, ibig sabihin hindi pa thorough decalcified yung ating specimen. So these are the appearance of bones decalcified after decalcification process. Okay. Landrium's technique naman, class, is very useful for tissues which became hard at time of fixation. So following washing out of fixative, okay, tissue is immersed in a 4% aqueous solution of phenol for 1 to 3 days. Okay. Hindi naman ito, class, Landrium's technique is hindi siya part ng decalcification since hindi naman calcified yung tissues. It is such that, class, na nag-harden lang yung tissue after fixation. So you're going to add phenol to soften yung ating tissues. So part na rin siya ng decalcification. Okay? It's hardening ng tissues. So that's Landrium's technique. But if phenol is not available, we have other types of tissue softeners. So, we have hydrochloric acid, 2%, Moliflex, yun commercially available. And we have perineous fluid. For surface decalcification naman, class, the surface of the block to be decalcified is trimmed with a scalpel and is placed surface, and the block is then placed in solution of 1% hydrochloric acid face downward, so the acid bathes the cut surface for 15 to 60 minutes. Okay. So ito yung appearance ng bone undergone surface decalcification. So yung portion lang na scrape natin yung decalcified and inexposed chemical acids for decalcification. Okay. I think that's the end of our decalcification. Okay. Ilan ba ang pumasok sa ating... Okay, we have 4. Wow. So I will also upload this sa YouTube sa mga hindi nakapasok sa ating Zoom meeting today. Okay? So ito yung topic natin supposed to be during the 4th week of our histopathology online. Kaso lang, di ba, nagkaroon ng holidays, and I think it is during Summer Fest. Kaya hindi tayo nagkaroon ng Zoom meetings. Okay? So any question so far? Okay? Okay. Pakisabi na lang sa mga classmates niyo, class, na magiging available itong conference sa YouTube. Okay? Ay.
Yes po.
Okay, reminders pala, class, yung assignments and mga quizzes na merong mga hindi pa nakatake. Okay? Kasi I think 3 or 4 na students na hindi talaga gumawa ng assignments at all from the start. Okay? I-check ko pa yung email, baka nandoon. Pero yung sa may mga kulang pa, gawin na ninyo kasi malapit na ang finals. Okay?
Demi? What?
Yes po, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, tomorrow, class, I am going to stream new topics, okay? For our 6th week. Kasi nga nag-add tayo ng days, di ba? Kasi maraming holidays. So, before exam tomorrow. So, yung i-stream ko na discussion, including yung sectioning na hindi natin matatakil ngayon, is I will going to discuss it tomorrow. Okay?
Okay po, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, see you again
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Okay, thank you.
Ay, sir,
Bye.
mag-zoom pa rin tayo bukas.
Yes, yun yung new topics natin.
Okay.
Last Zoom
Okay, sir,
natin
8
tomorrow.
a.m.
I think
Zoom
last,
meeting.
okay, same time. I will send the link kay Joshua, okay? Ang topic, I think tomorrow, sectioning, rotary microtome parts, and I think staining for tomorrow. Okay?
Okay po, sir.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, sir Brian. Bye.